Hello, good morning. 180th day, fourth video. This time I really do think it will be the end of the fourth year. I have to quit sometime. So the end of the fourth year, I think. And then now what? What's going to happen next? I'll get on to that. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I thought more about some of the things I'd most recently said. I had and I wanted to revisit it a little bit more. I had said in the fourth year, I was trying to find out what made the beauty bleed out of things in my eye and ear and mind around 1880. And I'd mentioned printing, maybe printing more than the written word. The fact that with industrialized printing, words went everywhere. And advertising. Advertising, now I teach that really came on strong in the 1920s. But I don't know. In any case, the result has been that words and images are everywhere, everywhere, and they're also cheap in a way. I'm blasted by images if I drive anywhere, even on a computer screen. There's so much there. There might be 10 or 15 fonts, all those colors and images and stuff. I'm blasted by it. Well, that's sort of me. But then signage. I didn't even know there was such a word as signage. You're supposed to be able to read, to read what's this. I think about on Frank's school here on this property. What about signs? Should I put up a sign and say Cooper's shop? Leather maker's shop, sawmill? No, I don't think so. I don't think I want any signs at all. In the old days, what they would do is if you made shoes, you didn't say shoemaker, cobbler, you had an image of a shoe, and then people understood, or an anvil if you're a blacksmith. I thought about that, and maybe, I'm not sure about that. See, I'm just revisiting this stuff. I think about church Latin. Before the Reformation, the Catholic Church the Roman Catholic Church had its service in Latin. Well, the common people didn't understand Latin. It was just like a magical language. I'm tempted to say it might as well not even been there, but that's not true at all, because it had that magical effect, as you didn't understand it, but they were words. And the stained glass, the images in the stained glass, that's where the typical, the common ordinary illiterate people saw the stories. I also thought about the phrase, a picture's worth 1,000 words. That belittles words as opposed to what you see. What about videos? I mean, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, what about a video? And I thought about all the traveling that I've done. I've always said details of, because as I've traveled, I've filmed details, because those details speak about, well, they don't speak. I mean, that's the thing. You see things that people have done. Well, and I also have, so anyway, there's lots of videos of that, which I go and revisit it because it has nothing to do with whether it's Spanish or Portuguese or German or French or, you see it. I also thought of the phrase that I've said before, reading can be a bad habit. And I really believe that. I think reading can be a bad habit. If you spend a lot of time reading, you sit, I mean, I'm sure you're entertained, I'm sure your mind goes places, but I think it can be a bad habit. That's sort of that anti-illiteracies. And then once, at the very beginning of the course, I mentioned the cave paintings at Lascaux, France, and Altamira, this might be an A, in Spain. Venus of Willendorf, that little sculpture. They're coming from 30,000 years ago, and they speak still. Well, I keep using the word speak, but as long as you think that speak doesn't have to have words, there's no words involved, but there's communication. All the way across 30,000 years. And I said that at the beginning. All right, now that having been said, but I have to admit that words are very powerful. Maybe what got me thinking about this is somebody commented on my Loving the German Language video, And he said, "What about the word awkward? I mean, that's an English word, awkward. Isn't that a cool word?" And I answered him, but I continued to think more about that. And I said, "Well, yeah, it is. I mean, ward, forward, to word, home word. The word probably it means in the direction of, but in the direction of awk, backward." I didn't look it up. I probably should have. Maybe I will. Awkward, to see what is the etymology of awkward. But that got me thinking about the specialness of words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, with God, and the Word was God. I think the Gospel of St. John opens that way. What's that mean? In the beginning was the Word. I've asked different people about that, and I've never had a really good explanation. Maybe you can send it to me if you. But at the beginning of the course, the very first year, one of the things I taught was linguistics, and I always try to impress upon my students that language is like magical. There's almost a magical quality about language, and I don't want to get away from that. And then you take certain names like Yahweh, so powerful a word that it could not be spoken. There was in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, there was a spoof about that. There was a word that the certain nights no one would dare to say it. Or well, different times they had that. Words can be so powerful, and then magic spells, abracadabra. Just sort of funny in a way nowadays, but those are words. And then names. If you have the name of something, in a sense you have control of it. Kid, what's your name? I can imagine going back to teaching 8th grade. Kid, what's your name? And of course, if they're really clever, they'll give somebody else's name. But if you have a name of anything, if you can name it, in a sense you have a little bit more control of it. Well, I'm just sort of revisiting things and making a few more comments on those subjects. Now, what next? Well, I'm going to be looking back. This is actually Thanksgiving Day 2015. And at least over the next month or so, I'm going to be looking back over the last 4 years. What I've taught in Frank School. And of course, in the 5th year, as I've told you already, I'm actually going to be much more outside building the school itself. So that's what's coming next. I'm not sure what I'll do for the Christmas season. I'm going to be more laid back about this whole 5th year thing. And then finally, I want to leave with you a name of a documentary. In the 4 years that I have taught, I have 4 times traveled to Europe. And you might think, well, what's the big deal about Europe? Well, I don't want to go into that whole thing if you don't understand it. But very recently, I found this, and I just pass it on to you. There's a there's a channel a channel called 1001 Documentaries on a YouTube channel that I'd like you to know about. And I would specifically single out the 4 episodes of Europe and natural history. Now, if you're in Europe, you may not be able to see them all. But so there would be, if you want to go on your own, there you go. All right, this time I really do think I'm done with the 4th year. So bye for now.